Ever since Classic launched back in 2019, one question has followed the Classic community. What happens next? At first, the answer is obvious. You go into the Burning Crusade. What if we took a different path? What if Blizzard did an alternate timeline? Instead of the Dark Portal opening, it expanded Azeroth. What if they finished old storylines, added new raids, professions, zones, and quests without losing what made Classic feel special? The past few years, Classic Plus has felt like pure coping. A fantasy that Reddit users argued about, and a wishlist topic for YouTubers. It was always something that just felt out of reach. But lately, it actually feels possible. And this is where things get interesting, because everyone has a different vision of what Classic Plus should be. Some players want new raids, some want unfinished zones to be open, some want complete class redesigns, and then you have the people that want no changes at all. You ask 10 different players what Classic Plus should look like, and you'll get 11 different answers. Today, I want to talk about some of the ideas that I think are the most important. Not what will happen, not what everyone wants, but what I believe could expand Azeroth while preserving the magic that made vanilla feel special in the first place, and make Azeroth great again. One of the biggest mistakes Blizzard can make while making Classic Plus is confusing quality of life improvements with convenience systems. Classic does not need to become retail. It doesn't need dungeon finders or teleport systems or cross-realm sharding or 50 currencies. What Classic Plus needs is less friction without sacrificing community. Now let's go over some things that I don't believe should be added to Classic Plus. First off is transmog. I think your gear tells a story and you shouldn't be able to cosmetically override it just because you want it to look cool. I also don't think there needs to be any new classes added to the game. The original 8 and the Mage Hero class should be the only options in Classic Plus. As far as new races, I'm not particularly fond of them, but if they're going to be added, I think it needs to be High Elves for the Alliance and Goblins for the Horde. Now let's talk about quality of life. Sometimes, it's the small changes that have the biggest impact. Eliminating unnecessary hassle, improving convenience, and letting players spend more time playing the game instead of fighting the systems. AoE looting, it would remove the need to click through dozens of separate loot windows. Raid-wide buffs, instead of casting 8 Mark of the Wilds, you would only need to cast it 1 time. Instant mail would make managing alts far less tedious. Also, possibly a shared bank for the account, similar to how Warband is on retail. A way to balance faction-exclusive buffs would be to add Might of Stormwind. And then an updated auction house. It's long overdue, it would make buying and selling much smoother. Another one would be unlimited tracking. This would let people with 2 gathering professions or maybe even hunters use their abilities without constantly swapping between the 2. Dungeon and raid maps. This would help new players navigate without relying on outside add-ons. And finally, a mass resurrection. This would speed up recovery after wipes and get everyone back into the action faster. None of these changes alter the core of Classic. They simply remove unnecessary friction and then let the player spend more time enjoying the game. Now for some class-specific quality of life. First is the Druid with a much-needed resurrection, the Mage with a refreshment table. That way they don't have to open up 39 different trade windows. If you're going to do that, you might as well add a soul well for Warlocks, in addition to letting them finally stack soul shards. Shamans needing totems in their bag, and Hunters have a few, with the Dead Zone, traps in combat, and needing ammo in their bags. And a single and AoE taunt for Paladins. Combat mechanics. I'm sure there's more, but some major ones would be removing the buff and debuff caps, the ability to let damage over time and heal over time spells crit, letting multiple versions of a spell be active at once, such as Rejuvenation or Renew, and for Rogues and Druids to have their combo points follow them between switching targets. Let's talk about professions, starting with Gathering. The minimap icons need to be updated, kind of how they are in retail where it shows a leaf or a mineral. Updated stack sizes. There's no reason that Copper Ore can stack to 10 but the bar is stacked to 20. Single tap mining, instead of mining it several times before it's depleted. And adding a new Black Lotus spawn into Ungaro and Ashara, and possibly any new in-game zone. Now for crafting professions. Now for enchanting, I think all the enchanting rods should be cumulative. If you have a runed Arcanite rod, it should be able to do all the enchants in the game. Adding a search function within the regular profession window. adding the profession link feature that was added in Wrath of the Lich King, adding Feast for cooking, and finally, adding profession-related alchemy potions, like a File of Perception giving a 1% chance to find a Black Lotus upon picking an herb. When it comes to new professions, I think jewel crafting will be a great fit in Classic Plus, but not how it was normally introduced. I don't think gear needs sockets, but as a new source for rings, necklaces, and trinkets. This would also add value to the unused ore in the economy, as you can prospect it for new resources. And then at the end game, ring engravings, a new form of stat enhancement for the rings. Nothing game-breaking, but stuff you would definitely want to have. Another profession I believe could be added to Classic Plus is Inscription. But just like jewel crafting, it's got to be revamped. Milling would add value to the unwanted herbs that never get used. This could also introduce enchanting vellums into the game. That way enchanters don't have to spam trade chat or yell in the cities. This could also be a source for single-use buff scrolls to use while you're solo leveling. And at the end game, it could add a necklace imbue, which is similar to the ring engravings for jewel crafting. Nothing major, but a small improvement for your character. And then, a new idea. Preservation scrolls. These would allow people to capture world buffs onto a scroll that they could use later. Oh no, the raid just wiped? You lost all your world buffs? Activate the preservation scrolls. Moving on from that, let's talk about the world and the potential content that could be created. Now, if you've ever flown around Azeroth, you've probably noticed there's a handful of places you can't actually visit. Areas that are on the map, but for some one reason or another, you can't go there. It's not accessible to players. Or at least, I thought there were only a handful. The more I looked, the more I realized how much unfinished land actually exists in Classic Azeroth. Entire regions, islands, mountain ranges, zoned just beyond the playable boundaries. Then I stumbled upon a post from a Reddit user named ChromedDragon, and let me say right now, this guy is doing the Lord's work. What you are looking at is a fully reimagined Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, designed and created by ChromedDragon. And he didn't just design the terrain. He created towns, quest hubs, dungeon and raid entrances, and even the various creatures you can find in these areas. He's not just throwing content onto empty space. He's carefully using the existing geography of Azeroth and expanding it in a way that feels like it could have been part of the original game. I mean, seriously, look at these. Some of these areas fit so naturally into the environment that you would think they were part of the game already. And honestly, seeing these maps is one of the reasons I'm so excited about the idea of Classic Plus. When you realize how much unexplored territory exists in Azeroth, you start to see how much potential is really there. If you want to check out ChromedDragon's work for yourself, I'll link it in the description down below. Definitely go give it a look. But for now, chef's kiss. Absolutely phenomenal work. The reality is Blizzard doesn't need to invent an entirely new world. They already built one. They just never finished it. That's why Classic Plus is such an exciting idea. Not because players want Retail 2.0, not because players want Cataclysm again, but because Azeroth still feels unfinished. There's still stories left to tell, still mysteries left to solve, and honestly, that's the magic of vanilla. The world always felt bigger than what we could actually explore. Classic Plus doesn't need to reinvent Azeroth, it just needs to let us keep exploring it. So what about you? If Blizzard announces Classic Plus tomorrow, what's the very first thing you'd want to see added? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Azeroth.